Today, what we're going to talk about quickly is we're going to talk about events, workshops, and the Fellows Program. What I have up here is kind of a high level of what took place a few weeks ago at Empowering Beyond Digital 2021. These are just a few of the components that go into Avasant's events. As most of you know, I've talked to a majority of you. The types of events we do are digital forums that are more panel style. We do executive roundtables that are private closed sessions, and a variety of others. But today what I want to talk about is why do we do them? As much as I would love to say that we just like putting on events, there's really a bigger purpose to it. In the past couple of years, Anupam and I have worked very hard to put together this program where we're partnering with service providers and not just working with them when we're in a deal. We really want to create this partnership ecosystem that is long-term partnerships and more than just a one-off, maybe digital forum with us. So we've come up with a variety of ways to be able to do that. In the face of COVID, we came up with this idea of like, how are we connecting with our clients, our prospects, and just our partners? How can we do that? So we had shifted over all of our live events into digital virtual events. The reason we thought it was so important to do that is we were looking at how are we creating brand value? How are we creating a brand identity and stronger brand awareness? How are we helping these sales teams with sales enablement efforts? And how are we helping our marketing teams really build out the brands and hit a new set of prospective buyers with lead gen opportunities? So a few ways we did that is we really tried to hone in on the key themes that we're hearing from our clients. What are those pain points? Really, I've told all of you what people care about when we hold these events is how did you do it? So how do we bring in those business outcomes, the real world examples, and put that on a stage with our partners and help elevate all of our speakers as experts within the markets that they serve. So we've really worked to partner with service providers on key themes and trends that make sense and really resonate with our enterprise leaders. And as most of you know that attended Empowering Beyond Digital, we have a very wide reach. We're very proud of our multi-pronged marketing approach and utilizing not just our client network, but our extended network, which I'm going to tie into the fellows shortly and let Jim talk about more, but also, again, our service provider partners and our fellows. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Jim to kind of dig into the next part of events and workshops, which is our Distinguished Fellows Program.
Thank you, Andriana. It's really a pleasure for me to speak about the Fellows Program. I think we have a chart, maybe after this chart. There we go. Avasant has created what I think a very unique and very forward-thinking way of using expertise and getting expertise to advise on any of its programs. You saw in Andriana's chart the verticals that Avasant is a part of. We have fellows, roughly 40 fellows, it ebbs and flows, who bring a varied set of diverse thinking as well as experience. And most go across those verticals and have expertise that can advise, counsel, and consult with Avasant and its customers on various things that need. This expertise is something that we find not only provides advice and counsel, it also participates and also brings up and creates new ideas that Avasant can take advantage of. It also helps the fellows, someone like myself, for example, who can stay engaged with the work, the new work coming in, some of the new technologies, and work with the research components to stay current as well as provide advice and counsel. So our Fellows Program is a thought leadership and provides subject matter expertise to not only our events, but also our research and clientele. We leverage our expertise and industry knowledge with each vertical, but we also have just experience that we can use that go across verticals as well. And we represent some incredible brands. The diversity of this particular group is amazing in the fact that it's not only in our backgrounds, our expertise, it's also geography and it's also demographic. And what Avasant values is the fact that it can get good ideas and bounce those ideas across a wide range of those differences or diversities and get the best thinking going forward. So we become an asset to the company, but we also benefit from being a part of Avasant Fellows program by building up our own expertise and contacts and our own collaborations. So we are a set of C-suite executives who, like I said, have been in various roles. It's not just CIO roles, it's CXOs, CDOs. It goes across all kinds of experts, including in cybersecurity as well. And the fact is that helps us, again, promote different type of thinking across the domains. We have, as I mentioned many times, we have industry expertise. And when you get into technology, which is one that I'm particularly enabled with, we can dig deeper into things like AI, ML, as they mature. We can also, and I just recently, as a fellow, got to work with Avasant Research on quantum computing and what the future looks like for that. And we just published a paper on that. And then we can leverage our domain expertise, again, to help our partners out and consult with them as we go forward. The Fellows Program, as I mentioned before, is very unique, but at the same time, we think that the way it's run, the way it's a part of Avasant, is also unique in terms of the experience that Avasant wants from it. So, Andriana, I turn it back to you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this.
Thanks, Jim. And one thing I love about the fellows is nobody wants to just see advisors and providers up on the stage. So you guys help round it out for us with that practitioner point of view. All right. So thanks everyone for joining. We would now like to introduce a section where you guys can participate and ask questions using the chat and Q&A features on your dashboard. So we're going to open it up. We did ask through the registration process for some questions in advance. So I will read those as well. But first, I'd love to hear from all of you to see if you have any questions. So we'll give it a minute if you'd like to, open it up to the chat. Onboarding is a process that had to change, taking an in-person process and change to all digital. Employees have not even seen their workplace yet. Will these processes stay in place post-pandemic? Who would like to take that one?
So, Andriana, maybe I need to clarify a little bit, which I'm happy to do. And the idea being that there are things that the companies have changed. I know the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which I'm a member of, changed to its onboarding, and it actually advanced our HR capabilities as well as our technology capabilities to allow us to better the process. The question I have, though, are companies going to have the appetite to keep those in place, or will they go back to what I don't want to say it's a non-digital, but go back to a different model because of being physically in person and things like that? Or will these kind of processes have that lasting effect?
I'll answer that one a little bit. I think it's going to be a hybrid, Jim. I think there will be some companies that actually will fight it and they'll go back to the way it was. And there are others that will go ahead and they will adapt more of a hybrid. But I'm already beginning to see where people are going back to the way it was. And so everyone looks at me and says, "Oh no, Joe, it'll never go back that." I'm telling you, I do believe that there will be a portion that will go back that way.
I kind of agree with Joe. I think in certain industries or segments, I think it's going to be faster than others. I mean, again, Jim, education, higher education, right? We're doing a radar view on that. Of course, all universities want to be back, right? That's the entire premise, at least of the traditional higher ed system, right? So they would want to be, back in universities as soon as they can. I personally feel there are some industries where it's going to be a lot more different, just because, again, of how consumer behavior could change, and there will be a step change in my view. I mean, like the entire online commerce and selling. Of course, I think the entire last 12 months have provided a step change to that. Of course, we will revert back, but not as much kind of to the pre-COVID levels, if you will, in some of those sectors. So I think to me, it's going to be a mix of those. The entire media and entertainment, I would expect a lot more adoption. So I think in some of those, the curve will accelerate. Some they would want to revert, back to where they were.
Great. Okay. So another question we have is, in regards to the deals Avasant is running, it seems like your business is expanding beyond IT. Can you talk about what you're seeing in the market and what type of deals you're running and will be running? It's a little confusing there.
I can answer that. And what we're seeing is definitely as part of the transformation outsourcing, we're seeing deals that have a lot more BPO elements to it, business process transformation as part of the overall engagement model. So again, as I was talking about before, the traditional IT towers that are part of the deals are now kind of table stakes and just kind of the foundation of everything else. But everything is driven by the business transformation, by how the business is transforming. So we're seeing, for example, we have 3 existing clients, 2 existing large deals that we're running that have HR, they have accounting, they have procurement, and a couple of other elements that they're just going to have a lot that's just influencing a lot what the whole deal is all about. So we are seeing more and more deals that have business process and business transformation as part of that.
You talked a lot about price to win benchmarking. Can you talk about your database and how deep the databases go?
So yeah, I can take that. I think like I covered in the session with Robert, I mean, we really cover, we believe, I think we have a full suite of benchmarking services, right from price benchmarking, whether it's on the IT infrastructure applications or the business process side, whether it's the total cost of IT or business process areas, whether it's KPIs, whether it's salary benchmarks, whether it's other cost or KPI metrics and so on. And there are a couple of, I think, unique factors for us as Avasant. One, because of our heritage and history as a sourcing advisor, I think the quality of data that we have, that we've gathered through the years and years of transactions, that's really one differentiating point. The other that we've done over the years is invest heavily into productizing some of those offerings. So platforms such as Avamark, which is really our benchmarking engine, it ingests a lot of data that we consume, that we generate, that we collect, and has a very strong analytics layer on top of it to give clients that confidence when they're benchmarking with us. In terms of just the sheer size, again, I briefly alluded to it. Not only do we do standalone benchmarks where a client or a service provider would work with us just on a pure benchmarking engagement, which could run from 2 weeks to 4 weeks or more. But benchmarking for us and the entire Avamark suite and the RadarView set of products and research is integral to our sourcing methodology and sourcing lifecycle. So what that means is every single advisor that's working on any kind of transaction is utilizing these databases, one, to build out the financial base case for our customers, run any kind of pricing sheets that you see coming out from an Avasant RFP is relying on the Avamark templates and so on. So simple point being that it is integral to our sourcing lifecycle, and the database is continuously getting refreshed. As opposed to some of the other players in the market, our database is refreshed almost on a monthly basis. New resource units, new KPIs, new metrics get added, and obviously the data keeps getting enriched. And just I think last year we probably did literally the 1,000+ different benchmarks as part of our advisory and standalone benchmarks as well. So the data keeps growing.
Great. Thanks, Akshay. So I think we have time for one more question. What are the typical timelines you are witnessing in the market for transformational outsourcing deals from conceptualization to closure? Has the pandemic accelerated it significantly?
I will take that one. And Samir, so that's a very good question. And so So I'm going to answer each of the elements of your question. So the typical timeline for a transformational outsourcing, and again, this varies from if it's a global deal or if it's just a US-based deal, but it can take between, I would say, 14 to 18 months. But the thing is here, to the point you're making here, if the pandemic has accelerated it significantly, the answer is yes. Why? Because there is additional dynamics now associated with the acceleration of the transformation, driven by the shortage of talent and the consolidation that the companies are going through. So a lot of companies are consolidating themselves internally, redefining the IT operating model, redefining their business processes and their business operating model. So they need to have their partners there faster and running and driving this change and the future objectives of the business a lot quicker. So that is what's happening, and this is driven because in certain industries, for example, manufacturing, retail, healthcare, logistics, driven by the high demand of what they got to produce. So that is what is really accelerating it. So because companies just can't keep up, so they are taking advantage of this opportunity, they're taking advantage of bringing different platforms like technologies, but driving the overall transformation from the business perspective. So I think that is cutting the time at about 4 to 6 months, depending on the level of readiness for them to adopt into the change. The OCM here and the communications have a lot to do with how culturally they can move themselves to the new operating model.
Thanks, Carlos.
Thanks. Okay.
That
Yeah, with that, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today and turn it over to Anupam to also say a thank you. Anupam?
Yeah, thanks to everyone who joined today. Apologize if there were a few glitches along the way, but I think the content will be shared with everyone. And the point that we wanted to reinforce is that we are now operating at a different plane as an industry, as businesses, as individual professionals. And this new operating plane means that we have to think differently, we have to act differently, we have to reimagine what is the way to deliver value to our common clients. And clients themselves are looking upon us as a service provider, advisor community to focus on how to navigate them through this whole journey. They're all under tremendous pressure due to the markets, due to the shift in dynamics from COVID and other restrictions, and due to the competitive landscape. And they're looking at service partners who are leveraging technology, but more importantly, understanding their business and their value chains, understanding how to actually get them through that journey to help them survive and thrive in this new economy. So the overarching message here is that we have to work together. Avasant, of course, is here as a partner, both for its enterprise clients, but also as an enabler for the service provider community. And we look forward to more future collaboration. And also we want to see you in person. We do plan to have our annual Empowering Beyond Summit next year in person. And until then, of course, everyone take care, stay safe, and be in touch.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you joining. Cheers.